vote.
All right. We ready to kick this thing off? Good to go. Okay. The meeting of the Town of La Plata Finance Committee is hereby called to order at time 2 p.m. Okay, so the only thing on our agenda today is discussing the LEOPS analysis that the town council has requested from us. Just to kind of get on the same page, I would like to start with Mike, you asking your questions. So, or
Oh.
yeah, sorry.
It's actually a request from the town manager.
Oh, sorry, from the town manager. Okay. Yeah, so we discussed it a little bit last meeting.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
what's request for this meeting?
The request for the analysis of the LEOPS.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So I understand I had the opportunity to ask some questions. I've looked at the 3 reports that you gave us, and some of them are questions of understanding. But the fundamental question is, I'm assuming that any of this, all of this, whatever of this would be paid for out of the tax rate. Is that a correct assumption?
It would be funded from the general fund revenue. So the majority of our general fund revenue is from real property tax. There's also income tax, which we do not control. The state determines that amount for us.
Okay. So I guess I'm raising that point because I'm thinking that whenever the town manager makes a presentation to the council, the question, how is this paid for, should come up. And ultimately, the residents pay for it,
Yes.
right? And so some of my questions are going to be geared toward, do we have any calculations to show how this might impact that tax rate?
Well, it's hard to say because we are in the budget process. But the question would be more, this is a permanent change, and are we willing to take on that permanent change that would incur an increase in cost? Because and this is a conversation I've had several employees, staff members. Right now, our revenues, the highest it's been increasing considerably higher. We've had new development. The real property tax or real property assessments have increased significantly. Income tax have gone up. Our interest rates are much higher than we have historically. So knowing that, we are adding another expense. And that's like any other expense, as just like increasing salaries or stuff like that. Now you have a permanent expense that we're gonna have to pay year over year. So right now, our assessments, we don't get reassessed. So we were assessed for FY 26, a new assessment. That assessment goes into 27. The last one will be 28. So our new assessments would be for our fiscal year 29. That's when we're reassessed. Property values could continue climbing. They could decline. It's one of those things that's hard to say, but the majority of our revenue comes from the real property tax.
So in my simplistic view, if, and you were right to bring me back to the budget's still in process, but I'm thinking that given an expense line item on the budget, there's probably a relationship between that number and our tax rate. and whether or not our tax rate could fund it. So for example, if we decide to add a totally new thing we haven't even thought about to the budget, that would probably mean some number of basics on our tax rate.
I mean, it would increase our operating expenses. And we would have to make
Which
sure
has to be
we can
paid.
cover those operating expenses.
Okay, so that's really the fundamental question I had on all three of these. Now, I'll go through the questions that I've written down that really help me to understand some things. So I'm looking at the table that's called MSRA versus LEOPS analysis. Column B is the estimated salaries. And I'm noticing this runs from 27 to 52. In that time period, a lot of people are going to retire and they'll start receiving the benefit of LEOPS if we put it into place, right? So is there a cost? In column D, is there a cost for the people who have retired,
Well, no, we're assuming that those positions would be filled.
replaced?
Yes.
Okay,
We're not assuming that somebody's gonna retire and we're just gonna eliminate that position. We're assuming that
Gotcha.
position will remain.
But remember, the salaries be much lower than somebody retiring as a new hire.
That could be,
Typically like a 2/3
Yeah.
less.
it could be, unless you're promoting within, then that could,
Right, but you're still, then you
Yeah.
fill that
Mhm.
entry level.
It could be.
position.
Yeah.
it could be.
that's good clarification.
Yeah.
So, remind me your name again.
Matt Norris.
Matt
Chief.
Norris, I should know
Chief
that.
Norris.
Chief Norris. Right. Forgive me for not remembering that.
That's
But,
fine.
And the other thing with those salaries, so how I calculated it was a 3% increase year over year. So it's assuming just a COLA increase, no merits, no
That's
promotion.
reasonable, especially
So,
for a
yeah,
long time frame like
3%.
that.
The personnel cost, the additional personnel cost was based on the growth of the town, based on our current trend, and then the estimated, or I would say, but the plan, what's been submitted or what's been communicated to planning and zoning over the next 25 years.
Yeah.
So taking those two things in account, anticipating the growth based on that, but that can change. Say that development stops, say that it just doesn't continue, or say that the plans that were originally planned 10 years from now doesn't happen. So then that number of where we're adding another position would not happen.
Right, so that's also a way of saying that the level of confidence of these numbers is higher the higher up you're on the chart. So
Yeah,
because why?
I would stop probably trusting it near the bottom.
Right,
Like,
right.
it's hard to
So
predict.
the reason I did 25 years is because the report that we got from the state showed a credit of the 25 years for a 25-year period.
So that's a lead in right to my next question. I don't understand column F. Who pays that credit?
Okay, so it's actually a reduction in the amount the town pays for the LEOPS. So I had a long conversation with the state. So right now, LEOPS is just like 39 point, I think 7 or 8%, 39 point some percent. That's what it's going to cost for the amount against the salaries. Well, because they have an accumulated unfunded amount that's calculated in that percentage, because the town's coming in later and should not owe that amount, that's what the credit is to offset that percentage that we would have to pay like everybody else, because the percentage doesn't change from municipality to municipality. It's all the same for everybody. But our cost would not be as high because we're coming in later, so we don't have that accumulated unfunded amount, and that's why we get the credit. To
So,
offset what we're paying.
so if I look at fiscal 28, after the credit, the town's expense would be 961.
Correct. That's
Okay.
estimated.
Right.
expense. Yes, yes,
Uh,
because that would be the expense if we were paying the full amount percentage. And then, of course, it always goes up. So there's another sheet with the pension rates of what's the average increase over the last 11 years. So that's in there as well. And then we will always have that 106, the 106,000 will always be taken from this amount, and then we would owe that amount for it.
Okay. And MSPRS, Maryland State Pension Retirement System?
That's our current plan.
That's the current plan.
Yes.
So when you're saying net increase, does that infer that we're going either or?
So, no, well, they're not gonna be in this plan. So if they go to the LEOPS, they're not gonna be in this plan.
Right, so it's
So
either or.
that would be the cost if we stayed in the same plan. That would be the cost if they went to LEOPS, and that would be the net difference.
Makes sense. Okay. Okay, and then my next comment was about the tax rate. Unless others have questions on this one, I'm ready to move on to the next.
We got our questions answered last week.
Now I'm looking at the general fund personal expenditures for fiscal 27. Plan comp and fiscal 27 personal expenses. Excel line number 9, ER health insurance deductible. I understood from earlier discussions that the town pays 100% of the premium for health benefits, right?
So yes, so but line 8, that's the premium for the health benefits. That's what the town pays 100%. So we have a high deductible plan. The town has an HSA for employees. The town pays 70% of that. And that's the amount of the deductible. The deductible is 3,200 for family, and I want to say 1,650 for individuals.
Okay, so if I pick Chief Norris as an example, and he had to go to the emergency, his health benefit is paid with a deductible, 70% of which is paid by the town. Then he'd be responsible for 30% of it?
Yes,
Okay, okay.
yes. Well, just to clear, just
3,000 for the one.
to
Well, I don't know what
clarify,
the actual
there's-
number is.
So
You
that's the
said
deductible
percentage.
amount. But there's also a maximum out of pocket. So once they hit the deductible, then they have to pay their copay. And the copay can range from $10 to $30 depending on what it is.
Okay,
But they have a maximum, once they hit that maximum, that they then don't have to pay anything.
okay. Help me understand line 14, pension amount.
That's the amount that the town's paying for the pension. That's for
Currently-
everybody. Yes,
Currently, MRS
yes.
under the Maryland state.
Mhm,
Okay,
yes.
What is other retire?
So there's a 401A for 2 employees, and that's the amount for the 401A.
401.
So they have that instead of.
No. This is,
What's a 401A?
it's for government entities. It's different from the 457, but it's more for executive employees,
Okay,
is what it is.
and 2 employees have that?
Mhm,
Okay.
yes.
Are our elected officials considered employees?
No, they are not.
They only get
don't
stipends,
that.
right?
They,
Okay.
yes, they only get the stipend.
Okay. And I think you answered the no. Again, I haven't discussion about tax rate and our typical merit is 3%?
Well, we have not had a merit since a rate study was done, which was implemented in FY '22.
You should be up in arms.
Bigger things to try to.
Bigger fish to fry, right?
Yeah,
The only-
well, but yeah, I've heard it plenty
The
from my staff.
the only thing that has been received by employees is a COLA.
So they have received a COLA.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay. That's good clarification. Merit versus.
Merit, yeah,
Okay.
yes,
But people are getting promotions through the system too.
yes, yeah. I mean, if a position comes available.
Right.
I mean, if no position is available, then there's no
Of course,
promotion.
right. Okay, I'm ready to move on to the next one unless people have questions on that.
Let's do it.
Okay, this one didn't have a lot of questions. I actually did a little bit of re-ranking this to see where we.
That you're gonna have to ask Chief Norris because he was the one who provided me this for you guys.
Wow, that's a detailed table.
Yeah, I updated a little bit of it, I think, within the past year, but it's a lot to reach out to every single department again, and HR. Because police departments aren't always the best at returning calls.
Fair enough.
So I would just say this table is of interest to me. It was actually telling. I was under the misimpression that we might have been at the most expensive. But we're not. We're not the least. So we're on the high end, but
Talking about for salaries.
yeah.
Okay.
From a
Compared to-
beginning salary.
Well, it says the PD budget
Oh,
per, and it's that percentage of budget. It's 34% for La Plata. Charles County was 23%.
Be lower because the last I looked, the FY 26 budget, the police are around 40%.
40?
Yeah, that's,
Sam?
right now, the FY 26 budget, the police are around 40%.
So what's the basis of your numbers here? Based on the,
I don't know if you're looking at.
this table? It shows the police budgets for all the counties and the town.
I didn't provide that, did
You gave me that.
I?
Yeah.
Police budgets. You mind if I?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
You gave me this probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago.
So it's interesting. My sister just moved out of Ocean City. I see Ocean City is really high, but I can understand what the transit nature of the population down there and how it grows. But okay, I don't think I've got any more comments or questions. Thanks for that opportunity.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, I mean, I think you'll see a lot of it is personnel costs.
Oh, yeah. Personnel cost is size for every department.
Yeah, and that also includes the vehicles.
Yeah, this, when it says column E, PD budget, that's everything that we have to spend for the police department, correct?
Yeah,
Well, I
Column
don't
E?
know.
PD budget?
I would assume so.
So
That's
that's-
probably, that looks like last FY 25, because I
Okay.
know FY 26 was a bit higher, a little bit higher.
So that would include
yeah.
salaries, it would include vehicles.
5.2 or 4.9 seems high.
This also indicates that there are 28 sworn officers. Is that fiscal 25?
You have 28 sworn allocations. Right now it's only 26 full, and then we have 4 civilian positions as well. So it's total staff of 32 allocated. I think we have 30 out of the 32 filled right now. And we have a few in the process of hopefully being hired, but it's a hire a police officer. It's quite a process. It's not just like.
Yeah, it's not
You
one
go through
interview.
an interview and you're done. You gotta do psychological, medical, polygraph, all that different stuff. It usually takes anywhere from 4 to 6 months at a
Oh,
minimum.
wow. Okay.
And I see in column I that there's a real mix of LEOPS and MSRPS.
Yeah, and these are kind of, we try to do comparable to us. There's a lot more other because we're the only municipality in Southern Maryland that has a police department. The rest of them are all PG County and up
Right.
north, so.
Right.
If we compared us to a lot of the PG County municipalities, most of them, I mean, it's a good mix there too. You got some that have state retirement, some that have LEOPS. There's like maybe one that has like Mutual Fund of America or something like that, but it's a very small, like 3-person department or something like that. So, but even, I think when I talked to him, he said they were trying to get into LEOPS. So obviously, we only have 3 officers. It can't be that expensive to get into LEOPS, but.
Thank you for that opportunity.
Okay, so just kind of more towards screen, just so we're all on the same page. What the town manager is looking for is not an opinion from us, just an analysis of what this cost is
Well,
gonna.
The analysis as planned. I'm
Mhm.
assuming it's not just the cost,
Mhm.
but maybe also employee morale or comparative to other municipalities based on their benefit package compared to our benefit package
Yeah.
with adding this.
Okay,
Well, I'm always mispronouncing your name. Andre?
Andre, yeah, that's great.
Andre, okay. It was the last meeting we had with the town manager that got me thinking about the tax rate. So I really would advise that whatever he presents indicates that the cost of any option would equal some percentage of tax rate increase.
So I have not looked at the tax rate increase for FY 20 for the current budget. partly because I haven't gotten the report from the state, but I know the prior year, it was for every 1 cent we raised, it raised the tax rate, it would produce 154,000.
That's exactly the type of logic I was thinking. So you could use that kind of as a model. And yeah, it might adjust once you get the stuff from the state, but at least that puts in front of the council that, okay, if we're going to go after this item, LEOPS or whatever is presented to them, it's going to cost $350,000 to pick a number. That might mean 2%.
Yeah.
Rate increase.
Yeah, and the other thing that we have to be cautious of, there was an increase in the tax rate a couple years ago to cover a plan that we were looking at to do not for the police and public works outside of LEOPS. That had not happened. But the issue that's coming up is that 3% or 3% increase has also been absorbed in your operating costs. So although the council did that to cover this, that was what was needed to continue the operations that we're doing. Which brings me to another thing. We have, last couple years, the only reason we have not dipped into our fund balance is because of the investment earnings we have received. I mean, over $1 million, which will not continue, especially with the capital projects. It's going to deplete that fund balance. So now we have less to earn from it, and the interest rate is going to go down. We are historically at a high interest rate of 4.6%. That is not going to continue over a long term.
So you've raised two concerns in my mind. One is, so whatever it was that was presented, it's going to cost 3%.
Yeah, so, yeah.
But that did not get approved to be presented?
No, so
Or-
this was prior to this layoffs. This was 2 years
Yeah, I
ago.
understand.
It was put in the budget. And in order to cover that cost, for that, we had to increase the tax rate 3% or 3 cents.
But then we never did that.
Yeah. So we did do it.
It was brought about for an enhanced pension system.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and
So
we
it was
did.
kind of earmarked for that,
We
right?
did it. Well, it was operating costs as a whole. The issue is, we did that 2 years ago, and our operating costs have already absorbed that revenue, that additional revenue the town's collecting. And
Oh,
then-
okay, so it
And
wasn't,
we,
it wasn't a
yes,
one-time
And
cost.
then we never had an enhanced pension plan for the PD or Public Works. It never happened.
And you've also raised a very valid concern that we are historically at high interest rates. That's not going to continue. So,
Well, that and the combination of the capital plans, I mean, we're looking at a new Public Works building, a new police building. That's going to absorb that fund balance that we currently have to fund those projects. And even if we take out debt to make sure we have a reasonable fund balance, we're still going to have to pay that debt, and depending on what the interest rate, I mean, we did get a good interest rate on the USDA loan. I mean, that was a very good interest rate.
Mhm.
That's not typical.
and well, it's not typical for us to take out debt, right?
No, it's not.
But that's just another factor in the tax rate. If we take out debt, that means we're taking on an expense that the
Yeah.
town needs to be aware of.
Mhm.
And this is the effect
Yeah.
of that.
So in 2023, the town increased the rate from 32 to 35 cents.
I think it was 24 that we did that, not 20.
24, okay.
Yeah, it's 2 years.
The caveat was that it was for an enhanced pension plan.
It was to support, well, it was just to support the operating costs as a whole, and one of the portions of the operating cost was adding a enhanced pension plan.
You know, you're gonna add that plan.
We had to. increase-
Picture
yeah,
was gonna be,
Yep.
we needed to add
Yes, yep,
some revenue
Mhm.
to. the
correct.
So the citizens and the council were under the impression that raise would take care of the LEOPS.
Well,
Not LEOPS, but LEOPS is what came up as the enhanced pension plan as they move forward.
well,
Right.
we were gonna look at doing something, the town handling the enhanced pension plan, but that fell through with a lot of different other complications, legal complications and everything. So that's why the PD went back and looked at LEOPS.
Well, Karen raises a great concern. How and what was communicated to the residents as this enhanced pension plan? Was it Leops?
No, it was not. It was prepared as a plan where the town was gonna develop.
There's
And
gonna be a
that-
hybrid plan, is that?
Yeah, there's never really any solid details, because it was kind of like a
Yeah.
one of a kind way that this company was trying to do it, and it would have never worked out.
So, yeah, the expense was put in, so the increase was put in the budget. The increase in revenue to cover that, so we didn't have a deficit in the budget or using fund balance to cover an ongoing operating cost.
And we're pretty much, correct me, we're pretty much looking, if we have additional expenses, we're pretty much looking at real estate taxes as the,
That's gonna be that's really the
there's
only
really
place.
nothing else much available.
Yeah.
to us.
I mean, that's the only control you have for revenue.
Yeah,
Yeah, so you could do revenue or cut some sort of expenditure.
Yeah.
So,
That's the other option.
Yeah.
Is to cut maybe services, maybe cut out, some of the, I don't want to pick on a department, maybe eliminate services from a department. Maybe do that so that the expenses go down.
Yeah.
I mean, that could be another option. I mean, maybe make. employees-
benefits.
Yeah, cut some of the benefits,
Yeah.
make employees pay for a portion of their benefits.
so this is for you, Chief Norris, just, I know you don't speak for everyone on your department, but as like a thought experiment, right? So if we go from MSPRS to LEOPS, the amount that the town is matching for everyone, it goes from about 13% to about 40%. So let's just say 25% increase in like a total comp, because, you know, we're helping out your retirement. Do you think there would be some pushback, or would it be like reasonable? It's like, hey, we're kind of giving you 25% more pay indirectly by letting you retire early, by investing that money for you, that we would maybe draw down on something like, okay, hey, for the next 5 years, you're going to get maybe a slightly lower COLA adjustment or something like that to offset that higher spend per officer.
Yeah, I've thought about that, and
Yeah.
I've talked it over with some of them.
Mhm.
I don't think it's, out of the question.
Mhm.
What doesn't help in that improvement is like Kareem was saying,
Yeah.
the fact we haven't had any merits for
Yeah.
years.
Mhm.
So I mean, ultimately, the only way you're getting any kind of pay increase would have been through COLA.
Yeah.
Our COLAs are usually kind of low, I feel like.
Well, it's a combination of two things. I mean, we may calculate the COLAs the same, but like, I think not last budget, but the budget before, the council cut down the COLA.
Mhm.
Right, yeah.
So it was
Took like a
calculated one
percentage off.
percent. They took up, yeah,
Okay,
they
yeah.
lowered that COLA.
So, yeah, I'm sure there will be some grumblings about it, but
Yeah.
I think the priority has always been to get the enhanced pension system.
Yeah.
Um,
And I think it probably just comes down to communicating it with like, hey, you're getting this increase, but we might have to. And I don't think it'd be reasonable to be like, hey, we're going to fund the whole 25% difference by reducing something from you guys. Like,
Which would be understandable.
yeah, it's going to be some sort of balance that needs to be.
Yeah, because if
Sure.
I heard the numbers right, 40%. If we
It's-
applied 40% to our current tax rate, we're gonna add 10, 12%, 10 to 12 cents on the rate.
No.
No.
Really look at the total amount, what is it, 600 and some thousand?
That's,
600,000.
you need that
So
drop.
you're looking at,
Like a
Um,
3 cent about.
yes.
Yeah.
is what you're looking at.
539.
Yeah. 3 or 4 cents
Yeah.
is what you're looking at.
Mhm.
To start with,
Just, yeah,
And,
it is going to inflate, et cetera, as it goes along. So
well,
what is that
Some-
on an average house in this area?
at 3%, well,
It's 3 to 4 cents, right? So
yeah. That would be per,
Per 1,000, right?
Yeah. yes,
All right, well, I'll look it up.
yeah.
All right, so this says the average home around here is about mid 400,000. So you're looking at $12, if I did that correctly.
Done this before,
Divide the 450 by 100
per 100
Times.
value.
times the It's so much per $100 of assessed value.
Does the fact that a development like Pine Grove, which is adding taxable property, help?
Well, as population grows, that means demands on services grow, so our expenses are gonna grow.
Well, yeah, I understand. I think, I don't think I was clear in my
Hopefully.
question. If we have 5,000 homes now and we add 1,000 homes, we've increased it by 20%. That's almost free income to us, recognizing that it's countered by the services that now have to be provided to those 1,000 extra homes.
Residential doesn't
You're upside down.
necessarily carry it some way.
Yeah,
150% is your costs for services for 100% of the revenue.
And
So
why is that? I mean,
historically.
I'm
yeah.
I'm an owner of a residence in Plata, so I understand I don't want my tax bill to go up. But I also,
Get some commercial.
I was gonna say, keep it more
industrial in
Yeah.
too.
60.
Yeah, because I got 3 at 120.
so say that again, Karen.
If it was a 4 cent increase, 3 cent increase would be 120 per household, at an average house of 400,000 in value,
Okay,
and it's 160 at 4 cents.
and we're not always necessarily in line with Charles County, right?
In one respect.
Well, does Charles County rate go up at the same rate that the town of La Plata?
No, no.
They do their own thing, which Charles County is one of the highest
Yeah.
in the state.
Right.
With that said, there is a tax differential that is given to the residents as a credit on their tax bill for the town. I think last year or FY 26, it was 12%.
12%, 12 cents.
I think 12.
It's 12 cents.
12 cents?
It always was
Okay.
cents,
Okay,
because
so that's what it is.
at the time when I knew what was going on, when we were at 32 cents, we were getting around 13 cents, which actually brought the true rate that the town residents were paying to 19 cents.
Yep,
Because we get a credit on the tax bill. Really, we're getting credit for the services that the police department
it's mostly the
are
police.
going to.
Well, because we started tracking how much work we've been doing since Shinner got here, and now I know we get more back than we ever did from the county, I think.
Well, actually, the year before it was 14, they decreased it to 12. And the year before that, it was supposed to decrease, but the town asked them to keep it constant, and they did. Well, for FY 26, they chose not to keep it constant and they decreased it.
And the thing is, we should be very happy that the county is doing it.
You don't have to.
Because the only thing they're required to do is have the leaders of the town come before them and say whatever they want to say. They don't have to give them a penny.
Yeah.
And many, I don't know how many, but there's a number of counties that used to not give any differential, even though the county would have to hire or provide these additional services. They're like services, but they have to have more people themselves.
Okay, so that makes sense on why the county would even be willing to provide it. If they don't provide that discount, then they're gonna have to provide the services, and they can't afford to provide them either.
Not necessarily. They just choose it. They choose to give that because it's duplicate services. So they're basically saying, well, the town provides this, so we don't have to, and this is what we estimate the cost would be providing the same services as the town. So we're going to give you this much and it's to the residents. It doesn't make a difference. It doesn't affect the town's budget. It's a amount that reduces the
It actually
residents.
saves us taxpayers. And that's.
I hear you, Joe, but you're trying to make me feel good and
No,
this whole discussion is making me be more worried.
We're
And
not ready to be worried.
because you made a good comment. We're upside down, okay? Our
All-
tax,
Most government.
Most municipalities, yeah.
Providing services cost you more than you're gonna take in from tax revenue from residents. Commercial, the town doesn't have enough big commercial.
So that's, what-
The
so
more
we are doing the
commercial
land.
tax revenue you have, you know, the more that upside down is kind
Well,
of.
the
it's spelled out.
ratio of how much commercial you got to residential.
Cause you don't really provide much service to a commercial.
So
Yeah.
there is a study that the council approved, a land use study that would help us determine what's the best use for this planning and zoning with regards to revenue from commercial and residential. So there is a study that I don't know where it's at because that's the town manager and planning director of planning working on that.
so kind of just to put it in a nutshell for me, we have two primary sources of income, maybe three. One is tax rate income.
Real property tax.
Two is debt, taking on debt.
Debt should only be taken on for a capital asset,
I understand, but
not
it is
for
an
operation.
option.
But it does increase debt will, well, the flip side is that will increase our operating costs because we have to pay the debt back.
And then investment income, which we know is probably capped. And did we resolve in an earlier meeting our process for refunding those funds? Well, if we take a whole bunch of money out of one of those funds, we can't allow ourselves to get it to zero.
So the reserve policy, that's gonna go for approval at the next council meeting. So there was they
Right.
did go over it, they
That's all I
talked
took.
about it, they asked questions about it, and they were for it. So, that's gonna be established every time we start a budget. During the budget process, we will determine the levels of those funds and make sure that they're allocated during the fund balance roll forward from the prior year into those reserves based on those amounts.
So it'd essentially be a budget line item
So
to
if we,
keep the fund at a certain level.
if we recommend an increase of so many cents on house property tax, can we say that that money must go to this? And can we say if we bring in more, then it goes into the reserve for this?
Well, you're not making a recommendation, you're doing an analysis. So your analysis would be saying, if you're gonna to fund this additional expense, the real property assessment will have to go up so many cents. There's no recommendation. It's just stating, this is an additional
Statement of fact.
expense. And to fund this expense, you would have to increase the real property tax rate this much. Or you can
Or-
also put, well,
Take
to
expenses.
fund, yeah, cut expenses. Which I can send you the expense for each department. And some of the expenses can't be cut.
Yeah.
So,
Try really hard.
so.
Of course, all of it,
It's-
all of that is all general fund.
Mhm. Yeah, you can't use
Nothing
enterprise.
to do
funds.
with
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
other fund.
So our analysis cannot have anything, can't have any ideas attached to it that we could come up with.
Well, you can say these are.
Yeah, we
these are
could be
things
like,
that
here's
you-
6 ideas that we
you can-
have.
you can
Yeah.
Throw out any ideas. You're just
Yeah.
not making a recommendation to do what.
No,
If you want
okay,
to-
fine, if our analysis said, in our analysis, we could make the statement 3 cents.
To fund this
Fund
increase
this.
of expense, you need to increase the real property
Yeah.
tax at this rate. To fund this increase in expense, you need to cut expenses by this much.
But our analysis could go then further on, say, and if there is excess funds in there, then that money could be.
But we're assuming,
somewhere, and then this number may be reduced in the future. I don't like the idea of saying, giving a recommendation of 3 cents per 100. And then it's not used for this. And for us not to be.
I mean, you could suggest in your analysis that maybe evaluating a retirement reserve. I mean, you
That's,
could
that,
put that in your analysis.
because that was one of the things that I was looking at this earlier, that, because it's gonna be hard. I mean, you've got houses in this state, inside La Plata that are 650, 750,000, and you've got, I'm guessing, $40,000, $50,000, $80,000 houses. So it's gonna be very hard you have to get above 539,000 next year.
And the other analysis that you guys need to look at is the long-term effect and
Mm-hmm.
what that is gonna impact your expense, what that might have to reduce the long term, where you might have to change your source. I don't know. Just,
Well, one potential is an increase in the tax rate.
yeah.
That's one,
Mhm.
between 3 and 4%.
Mhm.
Maybe even a little less than that if we can get an idea of what the values of the houses are, just so that we can get close.
Well, I can tell you, when I get the report on February 14th or 15th, that's normally when I get it, I can tell you what the state's assessment is.
But
It's not gonna tell me by property, it's gonna tell me a total amount.
So how do we back that down into? So just look at the top number, right?
Well, I can tell you, based on how many utility accounts, I think it's almost like 4,600 utility accounts. And that's roughly what it is. It keeps increasing.
Yeah, I'm paying
Um,
4,000, so.
Yeah, no. And then, well, I would cut out commercial out of there. Commercial department number. So I can't.
Yeah, I think the top line number is the only one that matters because that's just, you're just gonna be adding a cent per 100 for each of those.
Utility accounts, each utility account is connected to a property.
Mhm.
This is the total assessed property amount.
It's approximately.
How long does it take to get something like that through?
I mean,
Getting an increase for dedicated for this process?
it's part of the budget process. It would be, so, during the budget, we have the financial plan, the capital budget, we have the rates, and we have the tax rate, the fees. The, fees, like for planning, zoning, code enforcement, sewer and water, and then the tax rate. Those all have to be adopted by ordinance. Yes.
Okay. So if it's being done now, so this could be theoretically in place
Well,
in 2027.
this could theoretically be in place for the FY 27 budget. Yes,
July
Okay.
one.
yes,
Okay.
yep.
So if I go back to your table that compared the MSRA versus LEOPS and look at column D, the LEOPS estimated rate, it shows an increase from a current 40+% to 60%. So it'll double in the next 27
Oh,
years.
that's based.
Yeah, that's-
So do this rate, do that cheat. That's based on this, and this is the average over the last 11 years. That's the increase year over year average. That's the increase over the last 11 years, year over year for the Carolyn states.
So you help me.
I highly doubt it'll go up to 60% of salary.
Well.
And
Well-
the reason it went up from the 33 to 40, because they enhanced the actual LEOPS pension to go from 2% of salary per year service to 2.5%.
Yeah.
And I think they lengthened the deferred retirement option also. So I
So,
think they revamped the plan by added that little bit extra of cost.
so in 2015, it was 30%. And now, it's 39.64 in 2026. And I
Why
also,
does it go up and down?
it depends on how much they need to fund it.
Yeah, so the actuarial people
Yeah.
are just saying, hey, how many people we have, how much?
Depends on how well
Yeah.
they're impacted. That's
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and so you have 11 years worth. That's probably a reasonable number to come up with some kind of an average.
That's
And-
what I used, yeah, and that came from them. I asked for the last 10 years.
Okay, and that's still not far off from what was ever here.
So
This-
if,
This is 25 years. At 0.84% is, I don't know, maybe 20.
Um,
And so 40 to 60 is 20.
They are due for another evaluation in a couple years, which could have a significant effect on the rate, and cannot tell me if it's gonna go up or down. They
But the
can't tell me.
reason why I raised that is Karen raised a good point. I want to make sure we were all clear that any words out of our analysis to the town manager, it's not a one-time hit. It's a
And I think
hit
actually
that
it's
continues
more
to grow
important
each year.
For the future, it's easy to pretty much see what it is right now.
Right.
I mean, they don't need much guidance to know what they're gonna have to do.
Yeah.
But looking out to the future is where. it's
Yeah, and I
probably
know-
Most important.
You know, they always say history is no predictor of the future, but 11 years worth here seems to me to give a reasonable amount. You can be slightly less than 1% a
So
year.
I'll counter that just real quickly based on what Chief Norris said. So if you go to the 2023 where it does jump up by 5% to
Uh-huh.
enhance it, and you just turn that into like a zero, I know we can argue what it would or wouldn't be. Then the difference between the Maryland State retirement and LEOPS is only 0.05%. So
Okay,
then
So that's the value often of throwing out the largest.
if
number.
you're throwing out the large one, that was for the
Right.
adjustment, then at the end of fiscal year 52, theoretically, it may go up to 49.5% vice the 60.
Yeah.
And again, that far out, we're guessing.
Also consider, as the town grows, revenue is gonna grow along with the expense. So we just have to make sure that the funds are appropriately applied with the growth.
So I think you said some good words, making sure that we're putting it in facts rather than recommendations. This amount of money would cost this if it was solely funded by the tax rate. The other thing you just brought up is where I was pointing to before. Our population is growing. So from an income standpoint, that helps. But it's going to be balanced by the fact that there's a demand for services for this increased number of phones.
Yes, but there's also a couple things is our revenue has increased significantly because of real property assessments have increased significantly. If you go back to 2008, 2009, when yes,
Well, I
Right.
wouldn't go back to that. That was a whole country
yeah. But-
debacle.
But we can't predict what
Yeah.
the trend of real estate is gonna be. We can't predict, it's just like the investment earnings. Historically, we have never had that.
And that's why we
where
budget
the
every
money
year.
got.
That's why we budget every year, because you can't say, I'm going to lay out a 10-year budget and expect that you're going to be right all the time. We do it every year because, we have a COVID, we had the financial,
Yeah,
I don't even know what to predict with our current administration, the way the government's going.
Do they do 3.5 cents? They're working tax
Okay.
rate. So there's some wiggle room. You don't
Yeah.
have to jump from 3 cents to 4 cents.
yeah, we could.
So the one thing that is out there is we increase the tax rate by at least 3 cents in order to cover the current 539, and that's assuming that 400,000 is the average on the houses.
Yep.
Around here.
Yeah, so I've been just just having some notes just so we can put a presentation together. So I think the best way to start would be the bottom line up front is, hey, based on our current budget, this isn't something that we can afford without dipping into reserves. So then we need to start presenting the options.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the-
Yeah. Mhm.
That is not realistic year over year to cover an increase in operating.
Yeah, and then add the bit of hey, with the possible expectation that the revenue might go down based on investments.
So how was that 600,000? Well, that's based on expected reduction in the interest rate.
No,
Right.
so when I calculated that, I took what we had in fund balance, which is the amount we have invested. And for the first half of the year, I believe I did a 3% because I was expecting investment earnings to go down, the interest rate to go down. Well, it hasn't gone down as much as I thought it would.
Good.
Yeah, because we're already at the 600,000 that I budgeted and we're halfway through the year. So I did the first 6 months of the year, I calculated our fund balance by 3%. And the second half of the year, I calculated by 2.5% investment rates. So I'm going to do some research, see what the economist thinks the interest rate will be on a CDs and investment account, savings account, and I'm gonna use that rate to determine what we're gonna do, what we're gonna earn investment earnings on what we have. But I also, the other thing I do is I also subtract out what our capital is gonna be, because now we're reducing the amount that we're earning revenue on, because now we're taking that out of our savings account for the capital.
So how's commercial taxed?
So
Because I mean, the police support them as well, so why didn't we look at increasing that rate?
well,
Exactly.
yeah,
It does everything. we
Oh,
did.
yeah, it's across the board.
Yeah.
so I can only tell you how many accounts are for businesses compared to residential, but when I get the amounts from the state, it doesn't tell me that.
But
I used to get the percent of commercial, and
And I asked about that and they said they couldn't give it to me. Oh, I forget her name, Nicole.
Why do we get,
Nicole,
well,
Yeah.
when the statement was made earlier that we get more income from commercial property than we do residential, why is that or how is that?
So the county, when I met with, Eric Jackson from the county, he explained commercial has two parts to the tax, the real property tax. One is the actual value of the real property and one is the income they generate from that. Real
Okay, that makes sense. So,
but all that's doing is setting an appraised value, oh, not appraised, assessed value.
Yeah, so if, say, income goes down for the company, then their taxes are gonna
Their
go down.
assessment is gonna go.
Yeah.
so that means part of our income is essentially from the sales tax.
Not sales tax, but their revenue, what they
Their
generate on
income
their
tax,
property.
their
Yeah,
income
yes,
tax.
yeah. And that's separate from the income tax that the state collects for us and distributes to us. And that's based on, I want to say 2.6, which is based on the state's laws and regulations,
Okay.
whatever they come
So
up with.
this is kind of going to your notes, some things that Karen have said. We need to be careful that we're not here making a recommendation to the town manager. We're giving him our analysis of what it's going to cost and maybe some ways we can cover that.
Mhm.
What
And
is he going to do when he goes to the town council? Is he going to make a recommendation or is he just going to present the facts?
He probably, you're just gonna lay it before him.
probably because it's not, it's to provide the council with information for them to make a decision. Now, if council asks for a recommendation, I'm sure the town manager can give a recommendation. But I wouldn't just look at the financial aspect of it, the cost in dollars. I would also include employee morale
Mhm.
and how the benefit package as a whole, of the town compares to other similar municipalities.
And I understand that, and we were talking a little bit about, offsetting through benefits and you're getting, so that means that not just the police have an offset, because you can't break them out with the rest.
Well, I mean,
Technically, you probably could.
yeah, you could propose, hey, if the police are getting this benefit, then they pay so much of the percentage where everybody else not getting that benefit doesn't.
But I mean, you're looking at employee morale and you're taking it from every employee who are used to having 100% of their benefits paid for. And you're dropping them down to say 75 or 6, whatever the percentage is, 75% being paid for. That means you're gonna have an issue with everybody, not just,
And that could be,
and that's
could
not
be
the
part of
way
the
it
analysis, yeah. Something for
Because
the
you've
council to
got-
think about.
you've got an employee insurance, which is, I think it's contributed between what, 5 and 7.5%, something along those lines.
And what do
But
you,
anyway, you could be scaling that back. You have the HSA contributions the town's making, that could be scaled back.
So if,
theoretically.
I'm just gonna
But
throw
do
this,
you really want to be doing that? Is that something that the town could
I mean, again, that's,
recommend?
Yeah, I think I think we can make recommendations that don't make sense just to make
Yeah.
make the recommendation.
well,
Like,
you're making
or
it
sorry,
now.
yeah, sorry, the analysis, yeah. Yeah.
This, having employees pay part of their benefits has been an ongoing discussion for many years to
Mhm.
help save costs, and it's general, because
Yeah.
everything's going up. The one thing I have pointed out, if we are going to make employees pay a portion of their benefits, let's start with reducing what the town puts in their HSA, so it's not a hit upfront to them. Because
It's not like
doing,
a-
yeah,
Yeah.
because if we reduce the premium, then they're gonna pay that right away. If you reduce the deductible, then that may hit them, that may not. If they're healthy and they just go to their wellness visit, they're not gonna have to take it from that deductible.
Yeah.
So that's, if you're gonna put that out there, reduce the HSA.
I think we have to look at it in all.
Yeah.
And is it something, is there maybe a police benefit package that is different than
And that could
administrative benefit?
be an analysis, part of your
Could
analysis.
that be something?
That could be one of those
Because like you
analysis
said,
points.
there's benefits to layoffs coming in, the earlier retirement age, the different things like that. So who should be bearing this?
Yeah.
Who should-
And
And the residents are going, in, there's no question.
I hate to throw this out, but there's also the consideration, so with the layoffs, the employee, the officer could retire at age 50. What are they gonna do with health insurance if they can't continue on, if the town's not gonna pay? They could continue on the plan, but they have to pay the full premium. The town doesn't subsidize that once you retire.
Or does the town even allow them to stay on from the
Yeah, they do.
50 to 65?
They are allowed to stay on the plan until, Medicare.
Medicare kicks in.
Yes,
So
but they have to pay the full
100% of that.
yes. So that's also,
What's the current arrangement?
yes.
What's the
yeah.
current arrangement post-retirement for health benefits under the current plan?
There is none.
So either way,
Either way, if the employee,
they have to cover their own,
correct.
well, 20% because they get Medicare.
Well, if they retire at 50, 55, 60,
Oh,
62,
that's a good point.
they have to cover the 100% until they get to Medicare age.
Okay, so with Karina talking about employee morale and stuff like that, I think Chief Norris, you'd be best to speak on that. So my question with this would be, since you have obviously the most law enforcement experience in here, what is typically the motivator for moving departments, moving states, stuff like that? Is it generally, hey, I heard Kansas has great benefits, so I'm moving my family to Kansas? Or is that a draw, or is it family matters that kick people out and like move? Like, well, I guess what I'm asking, like, obviously I don't think you can give a definitive number, but how would that increase our retention, or how would it increase recruitment?
I know, I mean, it's a kind of like a combination of
Yeah.
a few things. I know paying benefits, anytime I ask the FOP to give me like, what are your members' concerns?
Mhm.
What's everyone talking about? It's been paying benefits since I started here.
Okay.
And it's been a long time.
And sorry, how
when
many
I
years
say
have you been here?
benefits, I mean, that's what,
How many years have you been here?
since 2009.
Okay, so, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's 3 different chiefs that have come through,
Yeah.
and, it's been the same thing. I know they've been trying to get Leops for at least, 13, 14 years. It's been on the radar, or just something that like constantly gets talked about. So we did try to go another route and look outside and try to come up with a hybrid plan, just, it would have never worked. We would have been managing it ourselves or paying somebody to do it.
Mhm.
Whereas this is kind of like a clean transition, but to get back to your question, it's a big tool in recruitment and retention for the department, because one of our biggest competition, and I don't mean it as in competition as police against police,
Yeah.
but our biggest competition to lose employees is to the Charles County Sheriff's Office.
Okay,
And, we do have a good benefits package here, which doesn't, theirs is much better. It's
Mhm.
crazy to even think that. I know you guys see it on paper and you're like, man, this is pretty good, They actually do have medical in retirement, so their medical is paid for in retirement. They went away from it. Yeah, they went away from it because it was costing so much, but then, they started losing people because of that, because a lot of the recent people were staying there.
Mhm.
I almost even transferred to the sheriff's office years ago because of that one thing. And, so they brought that back because they were having people leave to go to PG County or elsewhere that
Okay.
still had medical in retirement. But I know one of the big things is the option to be able to retire at 25 years, whereas right now it's 30 years.
Mhm.
And 30 years is a long time in law enforcement, just like military,
Yep.
you know, it's different, you know, you work weekends, you work nights, you work holidays. You're always pretty much one call, so I think that's the big thing.
Mhm.
I can tell you right now, the big thing with everybody that I've talked to, it's the retirement plan. So,
More than having the benefits wrap around as staying in the policy after. Do they do that? You don't do that, do you? If
Yeah.
somebody retires from here, they go onto Medicare and they're responsible for their top up, their wrap.
Well, you have to
Yeah,
be
they-
62.
We do not cover any medical once you retire. You do not have any of the insurance at all.
That's surprising.
So you might not want to answer this question if you appreciate your candor that you actually explored the option of going over to the county, then you said no, you stayed here. Would you be willing to share what was the deciding factor for you?
the chief Shinner kind of talked me out of it.
He could do that.
Only a little.
He's one of the best salesmen I've ever seen.
I enjoy working here. I always have, and, you know, Chief Shinner was a great leader, you know, he's a great chief. And I like our smaller department. It's kind of like more family-like, whereas when you go in these bigger agencies, you're just little
Yeah.
goldfish in an ocean, you know? So there's a lot better benefits to training here and just having that more personalized career. And there's not as much room for expansion or ascending through the ranks as quick as maybe you would in the sheriff's office, because when they have retirements every year, you might have 15, 20 people retiring, whereas
Mhm.
us, lucky to get one retirement a year, you know,
Yeah.
so.
So
Not
that
a lot of mobility up.
Chief's answers goes clearly to your point. It's not all financials. I mean, a lot of those answers were morale type things. So
Mhm.
They're not even dealing with cost. And
The big thing is it's recruitment and retention. It's one of
Yeah.
Our biggest thing, because that's the main thing. Whenever we ask what would help, you, like in your mind to keep you here. So we've
Mhm.
lost a couple, some that went out of state, kind of a blend of, you know, so-and-so wants to go there, so maybe, yeah, I can go there and start over or something like
Okay.
that. And then some other ones have gone to other agencies just because they had better retirement, more pay. I think we,
25 years with the county, or to stay on.
I think it's 20.
Is it 20 to stay on their medical policy?
Oh, I didn't know about their medical stuff. I think as long as within the last 10 years, or you're on it or something, or I'm not 100% sure. I know some of the people in our department, they've kind of like got into their spouse's medical plan so that when they do retire, they can stay on it.
Mhm. Makes sense.
Not everybody has that option. Like, I don't know what I'm gonna do when I retire and need medical.
Probably paper top up.
Yeah. We'll see.
So I think also another benefit would possibly be that if we have LEOPS and let's say someone does retire, probably would be more likely to get someone else from the state that would want to fill that role, vice maybe a new person, since you can move LEOPS between departments in the state, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and I want to say, and if you're moving from LEOPS to LEOPS, I mean, it's that much easier.
Mhm.
But there are ways, I think if you're already in like the regular state one that we're in now, I don't know what the difference would be. I think they're able to personally buy into LEOPS if they wanted to, using their previous service
Yeah,
time.
okay, that makes
from
sense, yeah.
The standard one.
Mhm.
One of the main differences, just so you guys can, and I don't know if Breen's provided you, but I'm on a different Maryland State retirement than anybody hired after, I think, what, 2011?
Yeah.
You did say that, yeah.
I mean, you're going from some of these new folks
Mhm.
that where it's 1.5% per year, so they're working 30 years to get 45% of their salary. And that's it, like, that's all there is to it. With the new plan, every year starting July 1, 2025, the benefit jumps from 2.5%. So anybody that's already in LEOPS is getting 2% per year of their service. But then when July 1st, 2025 hit, it jumped that benefit up to 2.5% per year service. And I think it went from having a maximum benefit of 68% to, or maybe it was,
I just pulled that information off the handbook when I gave you guys the
I
chart.
think I remember seeing
I
it.
pulled that information off the handbook, the LEOPS handbook.
and there's a deferred retirement option also.
The drop,
deferred-
yeah, yep, I pulled that off of the handbook.
So is Charles County in Leo's?
No, they have their own
They
county
have their
plan.
own
It's a
county
county
plan.
police plan, and they have like their own county corrections plan, and they have an administrative, it's a. What was the question?
Whether you could piggyback on that, seeing that we're in the cat, we're in.
They won't, but
They won't let.
So what happens? Let's assume for part of discussion that we move to LEOPS. And we've got someone like the chief who's been in business 16, 17 years and has been participating in the Maryland plan where we pay 11% of that contribution.
It's more like almost 13.
Okay. And you as an employee can put in up to 7% of it,
It's a mandatory contribution.
mandatory.
Yeah,
Okay.
everybody's mandatory 7%.
So if we go to LEOPS, where we stop the MRSA.
Well, it stops for the police. Basically, they're being moved from that plan.
we'll brain off into another
The
one.
LEOPS.
So the investment that chief has put into it, does that move into the LEOPS plan?
Mhm.
Okay. So you don't, the employees don't lose
They don't
the
serve.
benefit that they've been contributing
Yeah.
to.
Right, you still have all your years of
Yeah.
service.
Gotcha.
Usually there would be like a buy-in, and I think that's the credit you see on here is, that's all the money we have floating around in
Yeah.
there still, isn't it?
So,
We should have got some of that.
yeah, so they transfer the assets equivalent to the employees that will be transferred. And then that credit is actually because the percentage is to fund the unfunded accumulated amount that's not covered, they give you the credit to offset that percentage that everybody has to pay, because the percentage is the same for everybody participating in there. Well, since you're coming in later, you don't have that unfunded amount that's being funded by that
I
percentage.
see what you're
So
saying.
they're giving you a credit because you're paying the same percentage as everybody else.
Right.
And that's what that's for.
Okay. Did they do anything with the money that like,
Well, it does transfer over into the plan, the new one. It will.
but even the stuff where like the town has paid into it?
Yeah, all of
Okay.
that, the amount that's been already accumulated for the employees that will be transferred into that plan is already in the calculation.
I got you.
And based on that calculation, the amount that's being rolled over into there, the percentage that's being charged, they're saying based on that percentage that's being charged, you would overpay, and that's why you're getting that 106 credit against the amount that you will be paying every year for the next 25 years.
I got you.
Well, the employer, the town.
I know.
And that's why there is no buy-in, because we're actually paying a higher percentage than we would have generally. That's the reason. So there's no buy-in.
Right.
So far, we've got a tax rate. Got reduction of benefits.
Reduction of services. And I also want to make it clear that these things can all be, percentages. It doesn't have to just be one column. It can be like, okay, hey, we could do what, yeah. And
Think about the services you can reduce. Well, administration is gonna be hard. You need a town manager.
yeah,
Finance is gonna be hard because finance has to make sure bills are collected, that we do our audit, that we submit the financials, that we prepare the budget.
Mhm.
So that's hard. You've got planning and zoning. Well, they've got to make sure everything's in accordance with the code and the
Yeah.
planning. So, I mean, you've got public works and the roads, so it's kind of hard. You've got the events. We could cut those out.
yeah. So I'm not trying to phone in, I'm not trying to phone in the answer, but obviously as the finance committee, we're just looking at the numbers. I feel like the town manager or the council would be more apt to answer where they would want to
Yes.
cut.
Exactly.
So that's why I'm just trying to maybe just do very high level, like, hey, these are just some ideas we have out, but if you guys want to pursue that benefit, or that cut,
Yeah.
they would be better suited to answer that anyways.
They might like to cut
Yeah.
that just aren't realistic to cut.
Mhm.
So what about to this program? Could that be I mean, the town's growing. Every time you turn around, somebody else wants to be in the town. And instead of that money just going into the general fund, maybe a percentage of it come off.
Well, I can tell you right now, the only reason we have money left over at the end of the fiscal year is because of our investment revenue. The amount that's going into the fund balance is less than what our investment revenue is. So that investment revenue that we're relying on is covering us from using our fund balance.
So a member of the council who might not be otherwise educated might ask, so how is the revenue invested? It's CDs and
CDs,
I
And-
understand, but
it's their policy. We have an investment policy and I follow that investment policy.
The state is also,
Yeah.
yeah, and is it a town of La Plata policy or is it a state or?
No, it's an ordinance.
It's an ordinance.
Yeah, it's
okay.
Yeah, I am very limited in what I can invest. I basically, the safeguard of public funds is number one.
Yeah.
Over
Of course.
investment earnings. So making sure that we do not lose public funds is my priority when I invest. So I invest in anything that will not lose. So the CDs, savings accounts, the sweep investment account.
cheaper.
What about new construction?
Well,
Hey,
Joe just said what I was thinking.
Water
Are we
problem.
involved in,
Treasury.
Yeah.
No, right now work with multi-bank securities and I go in, I specifically pick the CDs and I based on, so they only show me what's within our policy. So, and there are treasury bonds in there. I'm sorry, there are. They show me everything that's in the policy and I will go through, okay, well, I'm right now trying to buy things that are 2 years out, locking in those rates because I'm anticipating it going down. And that's what I look at. I look at the rate and the term of the,
and how often do you do that?
every month.
Okay,
Because
so
they recur.
clearly laddering, which is
It's,
good.
yes, every month.
practice.
Yeah.
So
We
is
can
there-
also do agencies. Federal agencies,
Yeah.
Fannie Mae, Freddie.
Yeah.
Is there any way that we can take 10% of everybody's budget? Or a percentage of everybody's operating budget? Put that into a reserve, and then if it's not used at the end of the year, then that then gets used for something like this?
I think that's an option to list. I mean, rather than picking 2 or 3 line items that need to take a cut, everyone feels the pain, just like on the income side, all the residents feel the pain, right? But then I can speak up as a resident, there's just not enough service providers to provide all the service to keep the residents going. I mean, I've been on the phone probably 4 times in the last 2 months with Kristen. She's becoming a good friend now at the public. The conditions in my yard, in my neighborhood.
What have we got to?
So, yeah, we talked about the bluff, the bottom line up front. Then I got Chief Norris's comments about how it's going to improve employee morale and better retention. We'll mention something about how there has been in the past a big draw to the sheriff's office, especially since it's right across the street. That basically doesn't make anyone relocate. And then so our not recommended options, but just possible options to consider is, and this is going to be like a combination of all the below, is increase property taxes. And then for reducing costs next to services, I have let the council decide or ask department heads where they can trim. For benefits, it's either a across the board benefit reduction or maybe a slight benefit reduction in law enforcement due to the higher increase in the total benefit package that they will receive from that.
And I think you can add to that what Karina said earlier. You're gonna cut a benefit, cut one that's got a deferred sense to
Yeah,
it.
no,
Something
I
that they
as well.
don't feel in the immediate next paycheck.
Yeah. And I'm writing very briefly. I have a lot of
Yeah.
mental notes about this. So like each of these sentences will be like a slide.
And I don't know if this would add to your notes, but something Chief said, in all my years being a supervisor, it's really clear. Retention, recruitment and retention are key because you mentioned earlier
Put a lot
that,
of money into training.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Speed and then.
bringing a new person in is very costly and it's not overnight. It takes a long
Yeah.
time, right?
Especially in law.
And you got 2 open positions now?
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Hopeful that we fill.
We saw your flashing.
You like it? Yeah, that's all, I need all the help I can get. I'd buy a billboard if I could.
Did you put that up?
Yeah, you know what, yeah, they're gonna put up it's supposed to have smaller font, that's why I was like, the Plata Police hiring officer.
Yeah.
Can you,
Well, that tells the story though.
can you add finance committee members needed?
You guys need more?
Yeah,
So did you just have a couple drop off?
Yeah, we're down 2 bodies currently.
This is the whole committee now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we put out back in, November, or December out on Facebook, no response. We pushed it out again a few weeks ago. Haven't received anything.
Nothing,
Nothing.
even on the Facebook page?
Hey,
We try.
we don't want him recruiting for us. Cause he's gonna have them biased, but.
I like how you think.
Yeah.
How many you need?
Yeah. I'll have him here tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Trying to think of-
yeah.
You'd love it. You guys you have any questions for me? I gotta head back to the station.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you had any extra questions.
No, I appreciate your input, Chief. Yeah.
Thank you for entertaining me.
Appreciate your
Yeah.
candor. too.
No worries. Yeah.
One of the other reasons that I decided not to go to the sheriff's office was the fact that I would have had to start it. So you brought up another point about that because since they do have.
Oh, yeah, you
separate-
can't just move over to the same
They have a
level.
standard Charles County plan, so I would have, yeah, I was already vested in this plan, so I would still get that benefit after a bunch of penalties are probably taken out for leaving it early,
Mhm.
but I think, unless I drew when I finally.
You're
hit
on the-
retirement age.
You're on the older plan, so it's
And you're
5
vested.
years.
Yeah.
No, it's
I mean,
one
either
plan that
five,
you're
yeah.
5 years. So once you're invested, it's just, you couldn't, claim the benefit until a certain period, to a certain age. But you
yeah, I would
wouldn't
have
have
to start
step
over
reduction.
as EO one, police officer one, I think at the time I was a sergeant, I'm ready to like,
Oh, yeah, that's,
I really want to go through all that.
Of course, right?
That was the other reason, but
Mhm.
thank you guys.
all right. Thank you, Chief. Have a good day.
one. Did hope it gets snowed in for the next week.
Yeah.
Is this, I know that every year they would take every budget and they would lock it out 10% of that budget. My operating budget was locked out 10%. And it didn't touch my grants, but it always hit my operating budget. And at the end of the year, that money, if we didn't have the revenue coming in, we did access that money. And if we did get the revenue in, we were able to access the money to do things that we obviously didn't do. And I'm wondering if there's some way of doing that, instead of it being that money will go towards this, or towards keeping everybody at 100%. You keeping the benefits as they are, maybe by taking it off budget. Maybe if we really looked at the budget, or somebody looked at the budget, and said, "Oh, one, can we come up with that money in the operating budget itself?" Because we haven't said that. Everything we've done so far has been increase taxes, do this, do that, but there's gotta be 10% wiggle room in
That-
that budget.
I mean-
They think there is,
Yeah.
but there's got to be.
So that could be something that you guys could include in your presentation. Right now, we're in the midst of the budget. Once we meet with the department heads and I think I get the revenue statements in before you guys get the copy of it. I have to, because there's no way that you guys can do a comparison without it. Then you guys get the budget into, and then you make, you evaluate the budget. And there's gonna be, I put it in the calendar, the key points that need to be evaluated by the finance committee.
So Karen, you said that was done regularly every year?
Every year,
Okay, so
part of our budget process, it was automatic.
here's how I would translate that. Okay, I'm a department. And you're telling me I'm only authorized to spend 90% of my budget. And I know there's just 10% sitting there. How do I get it if I need it? Or holistically, how often did 100% get spent every year?
Well, they used to spend, if they had, it was a use it or lose it attitude, which is not necessarily good, but a lot of people have that attitude when it comes to their budgets. If you have the revenue coming in and you didn't have the operating budget, because if your revenue increases, your expenses increases, they would make sure that you've got the extra funding that you needed to continue doing what you were doing. But that 10% still stay locked up till the end of the year.
Then what happened?
They would, it didn't come necessarily back to you unless you had a specific need. It was a facility-wide,
So essentially,
Decision on
it's,
that money.
it's another reserve fund.
yes.
Right, okay. But then you're saying the reserve fund is open, like if there's Department A, B, and C, and A was successful in sticking at 90, but there was some catastrophe that hit C, C might be able to get more than 10% back because it's from the general fund. That's what I mean.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. But, and then the other things, you have departments that are not revenue generating.
Which is most of our departments,
Which is
except for the
most-
enterprise,
But
which is
it
still,
still was done. It was, and people always think need all these different things, and when they, sometimes they work very well in 90% of their budget. It's just, it's another thought, another.
well, that was the whole reason of having departments identify each of their line items, what's in it. Last year's budget, so that we aren't just putting the number there because that's what you think you need. And that continued into this budget. We're just using the Tyler system and they're still putting in the
Well, it
detail.
was, I mean, I managed their budgets for my department for 25 years, and you got used to it.
Yeah.
Here's another thought. I'm just kind of playing this out there. Maybe someone else will think of something else. I believe it's last meeting or the meeting before, Karina, you brought up that the speed cameras were generating a lot more
Yeah.
money, like because we're like leasing those cameras, right?
Yes.
Like lease a couple more, because I know you guys rotate them currently,
So,
right?
yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
but that requires certain approval from the state and everything. when
Oh,
you can
okay.
set them up.
Mhm.
And there's also, yes, right now they're generating a lot more revenue. A part of that is because they're finally obeying the contract and collecting on those
Mhm.
delinquent ones. But I think it's only for 3 years we have those, so
Okay.
that would be, we would have to renew that. And as people learn that their speed camera's there.
Yeah, they
Yes.
behave. Yeah.
Which is supposed to be the objective,
Yeah.
not to make revenue.
Yeah.
Is to make people comply to the speed limit.
No, that's fair. Like I said, I was just kind of throwing that out that someone could think of maybe something similar to that where like we could also just increase the revenue side instead of just
It
via
is
the property
kind of
tax.
hard
Yeah.
to have general services
Mhm.
to that, the revenue is the taxes that they pay to provide the
Yeah.
service.
Especially as the town has put pretty much everything up, one way or another in cost. Sanitation's gone up, water's gone up, sewer's gone, I mean, all the numbers are.
Well, those enterprise funds are service fee based. That means it's the cost to provide that
Yeah.
service.
Mhm.
When
Where-
you're talking to the town residents to say,
Yeah.
we want to add, on the outside,
Mhm.
and we need to figure out how to finance it, where is it gonna come from? Well, you're just, my borders are looking at yours, you know.
Yeah, yes.
The taxes just went up because they just did it.
So this, we've been primarily talking about layoffs for the police department. What are the other departments? They stick with the Maryland State?
Yes,
It's a
Yep.
good program.
Yeah.
yes.
And I
The
think that
current
just,
one?
Oh, the Maryland State program.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm aware of that.
Yeah.
I think the justification like Chief brought up is similar to why like the military has a 20-year retirement. That's a little bit tougher on
Mhm.
your body,
Right.
like longer hours, stuff like that.
Constantly. on call.
Yeah.
I think that.
Hmm.
Well, do we have other departments that would complain that the police department's getting this benefit?
I think everyone would.
I mean, everyone would love, yeah.
And that's another reason.
They were public works.
I mean, like we mentioned, the plan was normally police and public works because they argue public works is on their feet too. Public works is called out for water. So, but this is not, LEOPS is for the police. Doesn't include any other type of personnel. So that's
Well,
the
that
analysis
would
just
be
on
a
LEOPS.
piece of the analysis in your notes that, the town manager is going to have to deal with people who are not getting this benefit, even though they've got a good retirement benefit right now.
So
I
I'm,
didn't know that.
yeah. So it's kind of like morale boost for law enforcement, maybe morale decrease for
Right.
others.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's a cost and that's something that we have not spent, and that is one of my concerns is, okay, they get this benefit, well, how are they gonna retire? If they now have to cover their medical, if they don't have a spouse, or if they're completely reliant on this. So that is a concern that, hey, this cost might be an additional cost because now we gotta provide medical costs so
Yeah.
that they can retire.
Yeah, my counter argument to that would be like like people that choose to take Social Security at 62 and then they say, oh, well, it's not enough money. Well, it's like, well, you could have worked till 65, 67, 70. Like, I think at that point, that's a personal decision.
Yeah, but we're doing this so that that they have the opportunity to retire earlier instead of later and with a higher benefit.
Yeah.
Because of their type of job. It just seems like it may hinder their ability without having the health insurance, which is a concern.
Well, it does, I can tell you where it hinders all the other in public works. I mean, they
Yeah.
have to,
Yeah, that's true.
all of it have to work until you're ancient.
Yeah, because in the old retirement one, I think they could do 30 years or at age 60, whatever I wrote on there. I went back to look at all the handbooks. So somebody who started here at age 25, I mean, could literally retire at 55, but because they don't have health insurance and can't afford it, because health insurance is not
Yeah,
cheap.
it's not getting cheaper. Yeah.
But then on the flip side, I could argue, well, you've had this HSA, the town's been funding it, you have an option to
Yeah.
fund it tax-free, you should have planned out and
Mhm.
you knew when you could retire, you should have accommodate that in the health savings account that's available to you.
I still want to give us the additional 30 minutes that we have if we need to use it, but I do have an open meetings question about this. So if I were to go home right now, put this into a PowerPoint over the next day or two, if I were to send it to you, you could then send it out to everyone else and ask them to singularly reply back to you for feedback.
Yes, because this is the committee's document.
Yes, so we can't do a, hey, everyone give me the feedback so I can edit it, correct?
They can send it to me.
Right,
And then you can
that's. your-
collate it. Yeah, I think that's the
Yeah,
reply
the
all
opens
is the
roll for
issue.
Any two of us are having a
Yeah.
conversation.
So it's better if you want to prepare the initial document to get it
Mhm.
together, then get the ideas from everybody else. I can go through it, make sure everybody's ideas are in there and then send it out to everybody saying, does this encompass your
Everyone's,
analysis?
okay. Sounds good. Yeah, and I think I kind of maybe also want to throw something in there would be like, if the council is leaning towards one of the options that we proposed, then we can do a deeper dive into all those things. Like that way we can kind of get them a product sooner, maybe like next week or something like that. And then they could maybe by next meeting, then have feedback for us, then we could do something a little more detailed.
You've seen the state.
Yeah, well,
Like we have.
they have not received the letter. The letter
So
that I got. from-
they're not aware that there's gonna be a fight, if that, level the ops, there will be a fight.
Yeah, they're not aware of that.
They're not
because
aware of that.
the information I gave you guys were to help you with your analysis. That was not output to the public. Now, the letter that was sent by the state with
Mhm.
their evaluation, that was put on the agenda. So anybody can go look at that. That has not been sent out to the council as a whole. I think everything's gonna be packaged for them.
So I think there's going to be some sticker shock in here.
How do?
Yeah.
How do we try and make them realize the long-term effect also?
Well, can we hold that thought a second? Because
Sure.
I'm worried like you are. The previous council clearly had an opinion on this. Well, there's only one member of that council left, the mayor, right? And so we have a whole.
And she was opposed to it, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
But I
But
think a couple
the
of council
current ones-
members campaigned on LEOPS.
So it is.
So I think there's,
There's clearly an interest in this because they wouldn't have done the evaluation if they weren't interested in it. So I can tell you, they are very interested in doing this because they wanted this evaluation done.
But to Karen's point, do they really understand the financial impact of it?
That's.
I think this
your
is-
analysis.
Yeah, I think this will provide that to them.
So I think our analysis, when you put it together, really has to slam home that it's going to cost, instead of 300,000 a year, it's going to, the new insurance, the new retirement policy will be $917,000. I think we have to get down to that level
Yeah, and I think I'm
at the
gonna
very
use
beginning.
Karina's spreadsheet,
Yeah.
maybe take out a couple columns just so it's like the high points,
Yeah.
like here's the current, here's what it will be, here's the
Maybe
difference,
give them
estimates, yeah.
instead of annually, give them year 1, year 5. You know, instead of giving them 25 years of it, give them incremental. So they can see how it's jumping because of inflation and that, but we can also show that at the end of
Well, the
25.
other thing you might want to show is because I incorporated growth in there, maybe take out the growth and say, here's what, based on a 25-year forecast between our current rate of growth, what planning and zoning has plans or what's been submitted or talked about, because some of these things, their applications haven't been submitted, but they know that it's going to happen at the hub or stuff like that. And show the difference between that and if we were stagnant, if we did not have an increase in salaries, but an increase in salaries are going to increase by COLA, but not an increase in personnel. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, yeah.
So show, okay, this is what a COLA, 3% in COLA, this is what would be, and you can take out the highest and the lowest on, if you're going to take out the highest amount increase, take out the lowest amount increase and say, here's the median based on this, here's the average. This is what possible numbers could be.
I just think that's the first thing that we have to get across is what this is going to cost.
Yeah,
That's
I
part of
that's
our
good.
analysis,
Yeah.
right? That's
And
fair.
not just one time, but into the future.
Correct.
And I know this statement's going to come out cynical. I don't know how to avoid it, but they're in their positions for only another 4 years.
No, 3 years. 1 years have already passed. May will be 3 years.
Oh, it's a 5-year, it's a 4-year?
4-year term, yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
so, the cynical side of me says, well, they're not going to care if we give them a 10-year, or 15-year, or 20-year projection.
Mhm.
They will care if it's going to impact them and their dealings with their constituency during their term.
So there is in the budget document a forecast for FY 27 and 28. And I took that based on current rates, and in there it states what my assumptions were.
Mhm.
And there were certain things departments were saying that they were going to need in the next 2 years, and those are incorporated in there. So you might want to use those numbers, and I separated out in
so
general fund.
we could
So
have
in all
another
line,
version of that with
there's a
the option
budget.
without. Right?
Yeah, there's a budget document online under finance, go to departments, finance, budgets, and latest budget, the FY 26 budget has a forecast for FY 27 and 28.
Mhm.
And and then under it is all the assumptions I used for that, and then specific things that departments asked for. And I think I'm almost positive I identified personnel that departments asked for and certain projects department asked for within that document.
But back to your part, Karen, I think that it's a good way to do it is lead with those numbers up front and then kind of go into it afterwards. Because if they haven't seen that or aren't aware, and then maybe use that with the already showing what's already going to be increasing in those years.
And that's a natural lead in because we can say, okay, here's the plan. If the plan goes in, it's going to cost you X. Now you have to figure out how to pay for X.
Mhm.
You can raise taxes, you can cut expenses, you could do a combination.
The only thing I would say that it's important to include in that is there was a lot of talk about a buy-in. There is no buy-in. And I do think it's important to mention that.
Okay,
there is
no buy-in.
upfront
Yeah.
cost.
Okay.
And there's no
That's-
buy-in because we're transferring internally inside one.
Well, no, there's no buy-in because what we're transferring, the employees that we're transferring
Mhm.
and the cost of the plan as a whole for everybody is not the same cost to us. So they're giving us a credit because it was.
We're basically giving them
Basically
too much money. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's
Basically-
why there's no buy.
Basically, we're giving them more money than they need for
Mm-hmm.
what the benefit that
Yeah.
Okay.
we're getting. Yeah.
So I mean,
How do we
I
do
know but that's important to mention, even though you have this commitment, this long-term process saying.
Yeah, but they potentially thought they had a buy-in, but I doubt if they realized it was gonna cost them $539,000 annually
Yeah.
more than they're currently paying.
Yeah.
I mean, for a town this size, that's a significant
Yeah.
amount of money, and to be fiscally responsible,
Oh, yeah, and that's the main thing is the commitment, the long-term, the
mhm,
indefinite commitment to it. But it is important to make sure they have all the information and and your analysis includes every piece of it.
And then this may or may not be important. Contractually, what happens if we do it? Is there a way, like, let's say, new councilmen join 4 or 5 years from now? Can they renege on it? Or is it like hey, once this is signed in, this is,
I'm sure there's a way to get around it, but I don't know.
yeah.
I mean, people can switch out of the Maryland state plan there's been where they decide to do their own. So I'm sure there's some way we have not.
Yeah, I'm not advocating for that in any sense, just as a,
talked about this before, and I know that it was discussed, and it's just another option. There was stay where they are and give them the 401s,
It's 457.
457
Mhm.
funding as well. And I'm not sure that that's a key player in this, because it seems to be the time in plays a bigger role. You know, the 25 years versus the 30 years, that I think that appears to play a bigger role from what the chief was saying.
So I think that goes to what you were saying earlier about the AHSAs. I remember in a very earlier conversation where Chief Schindler and Norris were here. And the conversation continued in the parking lot. Chief Norris made the comment, we have the 457. Which infers that that's fairly voluntary. And it's not unusual in organizations where some people won't participate because they're not always thinking about their retirement. They would rather have the company that's employing them think about their retirement rather than contributing to it.
Bear in mind, the 457, there is no match to any of
But
it.
that's the point,
Yeah,
right?
there's no match.
So
Well, should we,
Can there be?
so
I mean, sure,
Yeah.
have the possibility of a match
sure.
as another alternative?
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, Mike, to catch you up on it, that's kind of what we talked about last time was, so if we're going from 13% to let's say 40%, if you did something where you meet in the middle and gave, hey, instead of, we give you like 10% of your salary in the 457.
The only
Something,
thing is
yeah.
that would help those employees that have been here for 10, 20 years.
Yeah, because it's just, it's going forward. Yeah.
So, okay, that's the benefit of LEOPS.
Mhm.
Everyone that's in the
Everybody
program
gets everything.
is caught up.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that would only benefit new employees. if you did-
457 can only help you if you participate,
yeah. Mhm.
and you're encouraged to participate if there was a match.
I think that would definitely encourage people to participate
Okay.
because we don't.
So
do
then there's a cost to
that.
that.
Mhm. Oh, yes, absolutely.
Mhm.
Question. I'm certainly happy to have the chief here today and educate us a little more. Was he invited here?
I do not invite anybody. It's open to everybody.
Right,
That's what I-
but
Even
is
a
it
working
open
meeting is
to
a public
anybody to participate in the meeting?
The departments are to provide information,
Mhm.
like town staff could provide information. The public can't participate in the meeting, but town
Okay,
staff
but town,
could provide
okay.
information.
I just want to
It's-
clarify
yeah,
if somebody
it-
comes strolling in.
No, town staff is to help, because just like I'm here to provide you
Mhm.
guys information.
Right,
I'm not here to advise you, recommend, tell you. I'm here to provide you information.
But if it was a member of the public, we would have to invite them to speak and then limit the amount of
Yes,
times.
correct.
okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I think normally on the agendas, there's that public comment
Yep.
section that I don't think
Minutes per
has,
person.
yeah.
But yeah, any employee, if the subject that you guys are evaluating, talking about is welcome to provide you the information you need to get a full picture.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
No, that's good.
Mhm. Anything else anyone wants to add?
So what's your next step?
So I'm hoping probably by this weekend, I would have a PowerPoint ready, send it off to Karina. Karina would then send it out to everyone else, ask for feedback, and then collate it and then send it back out to be like, does this look good to give to the town manager?
What's the town manager's plan for when he will meet with the council?
I am not sure. I think he's waiting on this.
So what is he expecting from us? A PowerPoint or
Well, that's what he mentioned to me.
he did?
So
Okay,
that's
so
why
where
I
that-
said a
okay,
PowerPoint, because he
okay.
wanted a PowerPoint. He really liked the PowerPoint you guys did on the evaluation of the loan, the USDA loan. And he also liked the one that was done, when you guys were making budget recommendations of the.
But we didn't have this one-way flow of information. We were able to
I
go
know,
backwards
I
and
know.
forwards, and that's gonna make this a little
Yeah.
difficult.
Yeah, I know.
I just, that's, to me, that's the best way to do it without having a meeting every
Oh, I
week.
think you're right.
Yeah, like,
we
'cause I
can't
don't
get
wanna
back
do
here all
that.
the time, but yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you could do a Zoom meeting, but then you still have the
And you still have
you have to do all.
Yeah.
Because I know that the PowerPoint on the last one that we did went backwards and forwards several times. So that may have to,
Since it was, the USDA loan was happening right when I got on board, is this the PowerPoint that you're talking about that they liked?
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to have something to kind of
Yeah.
base it off
Yeah.
of. Okay.
Okay, so that reminds me that we get an email. We should be providing our information to you, not copied to everybody.
Yeah, yeah.
Just like when you wanted feedback from something, you asked us to just,
That was for the reserve policy, yes,
Mhm.
just
Okay.
email me because you guys can't be communicating back. Yeah,
well, then I would like to request that once we communicate to you, that PowerPoint comes back out again with whatever changes you put in place.
absolutely.
With the caveat that we have enough time to communicate one more time with you.
Because I mean,
Yeah.
it's gonna go out because I'm not gonna put anything out until you guys told me that it's fine.
Okay.
That's when I will give it to the town manager. It's when you've completed it and everybody agrees with it.
And when is he looking to present this?
Sooner than later.
As in next week?
I don't think he's gonna get it to next week.
Okay, so we
Yeah,
have,
we
we
have-
have 3
yeah.
weeks then, right?
The next meeting's the
2
10th.
weeks after that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then if that's the case, we could, I guess I still want to just, while everything's fresh in my head, try to get a draft out quickly. So we could just maybe finalize it together
Yeah.
on
I'd like that.
next month's meeting.
Yeah, because actually to get on the agenda, we have to have everything submitted by Monday. So for the agenda for Tuesday next week, everything had to be submitted to the town manager on Monday. Well, the director of legislative services on Monday.
Okay.
And how much background information does he need? I mean, give him a bullet. Do we need to give him some background information?
If you want to have like something separate from there of how you
The
came
notes
to
or
this
the-
analysis, that would be helpful.
Did he share with you or us what program they had in County La Plata, or La Plata, where he was?
No, I don't know what they have.
Just wondering how different or the same this might be.
I don't know.
Well, this program doesn't even, I was thinking when I heard about it, that it would benefit them from moving from Charles County to the town of La Plata or state, and it's not. They've all got different programs.
Right.
So again, this benefits the person that stays here and long enough to get vested.
Maybe I could find something on it. I mean, it could also be a thing of how many departments are switching to this. Like,
That would be-
if, hey, 5 years ago, there's only 10% of municipalities were on it and now 30% are doing it. So if it's
That would be
trending, if
some-
it's trending upwards, then it's
That would be
okay, more likely to be useful.
Well, under this premise.
They didn't give you that in that letter? I don't remember seeing it.
Yeah.
That's a valid point.
well,
It's
you
essentially,
mean, I thought something.
it is essentially a pension plan, which means they have to present
I thought it
an
was
annual something.
80%. Or
I
not
think the
looking,
Maryland State Retirement, the one we're currently in.
it's
Yeah.
80%, okay.
So that, could you find that out? Because you got the letter from her,
Well,
could
yeah, the
you?
letter, it's not the same, but I know that it's somewhere around here.
Mhm.
Sorry, what was the last thing I just said? Because I said it, and I just thought about it and then forgot to write it down.
Oh, jeez.
Well, we have a recording, so I guess that
Yeah,
that
nice
helps.
to look at the.
You talk about this?
Yes, yeah, that letter, because Karina's already spoken to somebody there, so to call them and say, how well funded are you? What are the, you know?
I spoke to them because I wanted to make sure I understood what they were providing
Yeah.
before I provided it to you guys for analysis, because I was thrown off by that credit.
The answers to those questions should be in an annual
Yeah,
report that should be
it-
available.
yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I remembered what I said, so we're good.
You remembered?
Yeah.
What was it?
It was LEOP's adoption rates through the state.
Oh, that was your, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay, see,
Slipped the mind for a second.
It'd be interesting if that rate were decreasing.
Well, I think
Whichever way it's going.
Yeah.
It'd be an interesting
Yeah.
Yeah.
answer to that.
so LEOPS is actually inside the Maryland State Retirement Program, so it's a sub,
It's one of their
it's
programs.
one of their programs. And yet the list that Chief shared with us.
allegedly
that-
shared.
Yeah. allegedly shared with us, did not have many of the towns using LEOPS.
Oh, yeah, I did. Honestly,
Mhm.
when he sent it to me, I was like, can I send it to the finance committee? And I never even looked at it. I just hadn't gotten around to it.
Any closing comments from anybody?
This was a good discussion. Thanks for facilitating.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Okay.
Much easier like this than trying to do it by yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we're glad you're
Yeah.
able to make it, Mike, because we were just like, just if we could have everybody here, more brains tackling the problem. Yeah. Okay, well, I moved.
Motion.
Yeah. Okay.
Motion for,
All in favor, stand up.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Motion to adjourn.
Is it? Is that what you read?
Yeah. the green
What?
bar,
It-
red meat.
Well, it's been